Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jasper Henderson, and welcome to my first video on this channel, Henderson Whiskey Review. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the whiskey that I started off with, Canadian Club. So, being that this is my first video, I suppose I should get a little into the detail as to what this channel is, what it's about. So, I turned 21 5 days ago. And previously, my family travels to Canada every once in a while, so legal to do so. I've had some whiskey in the past. I started to develop a taste for it, and then when I turned 21, I had some and realized, hey, there's something to this. And so, I decided, hey, I'd like to learn about this kind of thing. Let's get some information going. And I watched, a whole bunch of content online, did a whole bunch of reading on it, learned about the nuance behind whiskey, and I was able to sort of start my journey. So, basically the premise of this channel that I had in mind was that there's a lot of great whiskey reviewers on YouTube that I saw, but they're all very educated people who know what they're talking about already. And so I thought it would be very interesting to see, being that I'm coming from a place of little knowledge on this kind of thing, right? I don't have a refined palate or any of that. I thought it would be very interesting to do reviews on whiskey while developing my knowledge, right? Because I'm still very new to this. I will be doing these reviews on whiskey, and then later on, once I have more experience and understanding, I'll actually be able to revisit the old whiskey products that I had reviewed in the past and see how my understanding and perception of things changes. I think that'll be quite an interesting premise. So that's basically the idea behind this channel. Now, with that being said, let's get into drinking. So on the day that I turned 21, I went to the liquor store, called up my dad, and said, "Hey Dad, what should I start with?" And he recommended good old Canadian Club. My dad is Canadian, both of my parents are. My dad's from Calgary, and he tells me everybody when he was younger, everybody drank Club. Everybody, if you had whiskey, you had Canadian Club. It was sort of the go-to, and so it's a good place for somebody starting off to try. So I picked up Canadian Club. First, in regards to the packaging of it, right, the bottle itself, I'm not huge on the design of it. It's a little bit elegant. It looks, I feel like it's marketed a bit as it looks like a kind of wine. It doesn't have quite that rustic factor that I'm a big fan of when looking at this kind of stuff. I love the color of the bottle, nice dark brown with a little bit of cherry to it. It looks like a bottle of booze, and that's kind of what it does a good job at communicating. Now, this is Canadian Club Premium Extra Aged Blended Canadian Whiskey. So this is, it is 40% alcohol, 80 proof. I got the 750 milliliter, and I don't know how you can, you can see that in the capture quite well. I've already been through a good bit of it. Now, this was not all me in 5 days, I guarantee you. Had a little bit of partying with some friends, used this to mix some drinks. It worked quite well to do that. Now, let's get into the real fun part, tasting it. So, good little bit there. A little more than I intended to pour, but that's alright. I'm sure I'll be able to finish it just fine. So for the color of it, it's got a. I really like the color of this whiskey. It's got just enough darkness to it to look like you're drinking something of substance, but it's still got a really nice sort of golden color to it. We'll see if I hold it up this way. Right there, you can see that a little bit. Nice, good color to it. On the smell of it, it's the way that I describe it. And again, as I mentioned, I don't have the vocabulary for describing it quite down at this point. But the way that I describe it is, it's sweet. It's sweet. The first impression that I get is it's the sweetest whiskey I've had. It's got a sort of like, the way that I describe it in both the bottling and the scent of it itself is elegant, right? It has like I could see people drinking this at like, a dinner party. All the gentlemen are drinking Canadian Club whiskey. It's very woodsy, right? It makes me think, it's being Canadian, I guess it makes sense that it would make me think of maple. Of course, I get some caramel and vanilla, the two things that everybody seems to say are in every whiskey they drink. Yeah, it's got an interesting smell that, what I find is very interesting about the smell is that it actually, like, this is, as I mentioned, it's only 40% alcohol, but the smell of this is actually weirdly a little bit intimidating. Whenever I go to take a sip of it, I think, oh, maybe I'm not ready for this sip yet. Maybe I'll just set that down, because it smells. It's got like a powerful sort of smell to it, and it smells like it's going to be harsher than it is, and so it feels like a bit of a hurdle to get over. And I don't know for sure if I think that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. So we'll give it a taste. Yeah. What I find about Canadian Club is, what's interesting about it is, so far, no other whiskey that I've had has the warmth all around, all through your throat. You feel like you're a dragon breathing fire. I've had some other whiskeys of higher alcohol content that really don't warm up everything above the shoulders. And that's can be very good or very bad. This all kind of, everything about it ties into Canada, right? This is a whiskey that I would want to drink most in the wintertime, right? It's going to give you that nice warm feeling that you would want when the weather outside is frightful. Ooh, I just got a lot of caramel in it on that little sniff there. Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, that's okay. So the second sip there, the funny thing that I find about this stuff is that the first sip feels like it's got a lot of bite, but then the second sip that you take doesn't have much bite at all. And of course this is a very tame sort of gentle whiskey, right? This isn't gonna knock you around at all. But the first sip, I feel, has a little more intensity than any other sip that you'll take. So, last little bit here. Yeah, the more I drink it, the more caramel I get in it, and I do like that. Now, how big of a glass are you going to have to get to, you know, get the level of caramel you want? That's another question, but I do like that factor. So the taste, of course, it's very sweet. There is, how do I describe this? It makes me think of pine needles a lot. Caramel and pine needles and French bread. Caramel, pine needles, and French bread are the three big flavors that I'm getting from this stuff. I would consider that something that I like for sure. I don't think this is my favorite whiskey that I've had. As you'll see in other videos, I currently also have a bottle of Jameson and a bottle of Monkey Shoulder. These three I've been told are all very good whiskeys for beginners. I've also got a bottle. My dad has a nice bottle of Oban that we break into every once in a while that I've had. It's been a while since I've had Oban recently, so I might do a review of that, have a little bit of that, see how that goes over. Now, as for the rating of this, I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. Now, I know that may sound a little bit harsh, but the reason why I give it a 5 out of 10 is because I like it, but then again, I like I've never had a whiskey that I don't like, right? It's pretty middle of the road, and I'm being conservative in my ratings, right? I'm not gonna, like, if it's, you know, so, I'm not gonna give it a 7 out of 10. A 7 out of 10 is for a good whiskey. This is a decent whiskey. Of the whiskeys that I've had, it's not gonna be my go-to. The reason for that being, it's not a whiskey that I would choose to have usually year-round. This is a whiskey that I would enjoy drinking in the wintertime a lot. It's got the warmth, it's got the sort of, feels Canadian, you know, it's good for cold weather. I happen to live in Arizona. It was about 100 degrees out today. Not quite in line with the weather. So it's not for every occasion. It doesn't blow me out of the water in particular, but it's an enjoyable whiskey that I'm gonna probably be stocked with on a regular basis. Once I finish this bottle, there will be more. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. That's the end of this video for today. I'm going to be, tonight actually, making the reviews for my bottle of Jameson and Monkey Shoulder. So look out for those. Those will be coming in the next few weeks. And until next time, I don't have anything left to cheer with, but Slanja.